ADC is being heavily targeted this patch with a bunch of item and rune nerfs. Vayne has been a bottom-dwelling ADC in recent patches, but that's about to change in 13.6. We've got all this and so much more to cover as we provide you guys with a complete update on the solo queue tier list, thanks to the help of our challenger players and analyzing the most recent data. But before we get into it, be sure to check out SkillCapped if you want to truly get better at League of Legends. We're the only service that offers a money-back guarantee if you don't climb at least 5 divisions while actively using our service. We do this because our service really does work, and if it doesn't work for you, you shouldn't pay. Learn more at the end of this video or click the link in the description below. One of the most OP builds of recent patches has revolved around rushing Bloodthirster, so it's being heavily nerfed in 13.6. The shield value of Bloodthirster is going from 180 all the way down to 100 from levels 1 to level 8. Shield value at the later ranks is not being lowered as much, so although it is a nerf in general, it's a much harder nerf if you're rushing Bloodthirster. Third item Bloodthirster in the correct spots will remain a good buy, but we expect rushing the item to no longer be viable. Not only is BT being nerfed, but the lifesteal on Legend Bloodline is going down as well. Max lifesteal drops from 6 down to 5.25%. Max health is also down from 100 to 85. More priority to alacrity now in 13.6. Another ADC rune nerf consists of lethal tempo losing attack speed for ranged champions only, going from 30 scaling to 54% to 24 scaling to 54%. Instead of maxing out at level 12, it will now max out at level 18. This is a decent hit to lethal tempo, as you won't have that super strong mid-game spike like it offered before. Zeri and Xayah are two ADCs who don't really run any other rune than lethal, so they'll be hit the hardest here. For ADCs who have completely viable alternatives, we expect them to shine more in 13.6. Miss Fortune, for example, performs just as well with press the attack, so she likely will completely phase out lethal from her repertoire. Tristana does great with Hail of Blade, so especially when you're paired with the melee engage support, HOB will be way more valuable. You can expect a small uptick in power for non-lethal tempo users like Jhin, Samira, Neela, Lucian, and Ezreal. Quick Blades is the other ADC item nerfed for 13.6, with its cooldown refund going from 15 to 12%. Gangplank, Xayah, Sivir, Tryndamere, Kai'Sa, Lucian, Ezreal, and Zeri are the avid Quick Blades users at the moment who will be hit the hardest by this nerf. Surprised there aren't any compensation changes for Gangplank though, considering he was also directly nerfed last patch and saw his win rate drop over 3%. Xayah is being hit from many different angles this patch and will be in a much more balanced state now with lethal, Bloodthirster, and Quick Blades changes affecting her. Majority of item and rune changes are nerfs this patch, but we do have one item being buffed, which is Nashor's Tooth. It's not really a flat out buff though, as you are now gaining 15 ability haste in exchange for the item costing 200 more gold. We actually expect this to be a nerf for someone like Katarina, who doesn't benefit as much from ability haste due to her passive resets. Teemo and Kayle are tough to call because haste isn't a vital stat for them, so Nashor's being 200 gold more expensive may end up more detrimental. Spellcasting Nashor users like Gwen, Diana, Shyvana, Azir, and Echo will be the champions benefiting the most from the alterations. Honestly, we kind of suspect this change was issued in the first place all because of Azir. Riot wants Azir building Nashors now, and adding haste to the item will definitely make it more viable. One final non-champion change for 13.6 consists of Dragon buff's effectiveness being reduced by 10 to 15%. We actually just uploaded a video last week talking about how Dragon is a bait a lot of the time for solo queue, so definitely check that out if you haven't. With these changes, the message behind that video becomes even more true moving forward. Not a single direct change to any top lane champion this patch, so let's dive right into the tier list. Despite no traditional top laner being buffed, we do have one niche top lane pick who will be moving up in power. Vayne is seeing buffs for 13.6, and although she's more commonly played down in the bot lane, top lane Vayne will become much stronger as well. From A to S tier is where we will be moving Vayne on the tier list. Kennen is one other champ we have moved up for 13.6, as his buffs from last patch have turned out a little bit more impactful than first expected. Gangplank moving down into B tier is the third change to the top lane tier list, as Quick Blades nerfs will put him in an even weaker spot. After falling to a 47% win rate from his direct nerfs in 13.5, GP could very well be the lowest win rate top laner now for 13.6. Optimal low elo top lane champs include Yorick, Garen, and Nasus. Fiora, Darius, and Malphite are who should be banned the most. Jungle is just like top lane in the sense that the role has been issued a grand total of 0 direct changes for 13.6. Jumping right into the tier list, we have Fiddle, Eve, and Jarvan reigning supreme once again. Definitely watch out for Echo this patch, as the Nashor's changes are looking great and he'll be a really strong S tier option. With dragons becoming weaker, in a way, it's more of a nerf to a jungler like Shyvana, whose kit directly benefits from securing dragons. Shiv is already in a pretty poor spot at the moment, so definitely much better options in 13.6. Top 3 low elo jungle recommendations include Fiddle, Mordekaiser, and Jarvan. Highest on the jungle ban list are Evelynn, Kayn, and Jarvan. Mid lane is the role with the most amount of changes this patch, and we'll start off by covering the Galio buffs. E cooldown is going from 12 scaling to 8 seconds to 11 scaling to 7 seconds. W damage reduction is up as well from 20 scaling to 40% to 25 scaling to 45%. Magic resist scaling on W is up too, going from 8 to 12%. Nothing major here that is going to push Galio back into meta, but he can definitely be used as a good counter to champs like Katarina, Sylas, and Akali. Zed has held the crown as the best mid lane assassin for a while now, but Talon will have something to say about that in 13.6. Base mana is going up from 377 to 400. Passive damage is up from 75 scaling to 255 to 80 scaling to 280. W mana cost is down by 5 at all ranks. R damage is up from 90 scaling to 180 to 90 scaling to 200. Other than the R buff, the 3 other changes directly target Talon's strongest stage of the game. Early laning power will be going up with those mana changes, and the passive damage will further amplify Talon's all-in strength. Definitely watch out for Talon in 13.6, as he'll be the best mid lane assassin and a really strong S tier pick. Riot missed the mark on the 13.5 Aurelion Soul nerfs, so they're back at it again in 13.6. E cooldown is going from 12 scaling to 10 seconds to a flat 12 seconds at all ranks. Stardust required for R2 is going from 75 to 100. R1 stun duration is down from 1.25 to 1 second. R2 knockup duration is also down from 1.25 to 1 second. R1 cast range takes a hit, going from 1250 to 1100. R2 cast range drops as well, going from 1250 to 1100. Honestly, nothing too major with these nerfs, but they should finally be enough to dethrone Aurelion from his OP tier standing, so we'll be moving him into S for 13.6. A couple Veigar nerfs are lined up, and these nerfs are honestly more likely targeted at bot lane Vague than mid lane. Mid Veigar is not performing all that insane analytically, but bot lane has upwards of a 53% win rate, which is why he's being nerfed. Base health is going from 575 to 550. Base armor is down from 21 to 18. W damage is being lowered from 100 scaling to 300 to 85 scaling to 305. Armor nerf definitely makes it quite clear Riot has planned these nerfs around bot lane Veigar. With that said, playing mid lane Veigar into the likes of Zed or Talon is just going to be that much more difficult moving forward. As if Veigar's early laning wasn't already his glaring weakness, it becomes even more prevalent in 13.6. We will be making an adjustment to Veigar's tier list placement, moving him from S into A tier. Mid lane tier list is going to look pretty similar to last patch with a few minor adjustments. Pantheon is being given the bump into OP tier, as his recent buffs and ability to stomp on many of the meta mid lane champs makes him really good for solo queue. Katarina is the other adjustment we're making, pushing her down to A tier. Nashor's changes are more likely a nerf than a buff to Kat, since her passive makes ability haste a bit of a wasted stat a lot of the time. Best low elo mid lane carries of the patch are Veigar, Malzahar, and Annie. Annie, Aurelion Sol, and Veigar are the best value mid lane bans. Vayne looks to be making a push back into meta for 13.6 with a few really nice buffs on the way. Passive movement speed is going from 30 to 45. Q-AD ratio is up from 60 scaling to 80% to 75 scaling to 115%. Q buff duration is going from 7 to 3 seconds. W percent health damage is changed from 4 scaling to 12% to 6 scaling to 10%. These are without question some pretty massive buffs when you put them all together. Q buffs are the most interesting because they'll definitely open things up for more AD heavy builds to thrive. Rage Blade has been the core second purchase on Vayne for a long time now, but something like Shield Bow and Blade of the Ruined King will become indirectly stronger. Vayne was definitely in need of a boost, but these changes could very well push her into a top tier position. We'll be moving Vayne all the way from C tier into A for 13.6. Ashe is the other ADC buff for 13.6, but nowhere near to the extent of Vayne. Passive damage is going from 110 to 115%. Small buff that should solidify Ashe as a good A tier pick. Nothing special, but not weak either. For the ADC tier list, we have Jinx as the only OP pick. Lethal tempo nerfs will hurt Jinx slightly, but that's really the only change she'll be affected by. Many other ADCs are being nerfed even harder, like Xayah for example, with lethal tempo, quick blades, and bloodthirster nerfs. Jinx doesn't build quick blades or BT, so she's going to be coming out of 13.6 much better off than most marksmen. With so many changes, we'll be sure to keep you guys updated if any new builds or rune setups pop up throughout the patch. To climb low elo the fastest from ADC, look into Tristana, Misfortune, or Veigar. Highest on our ban list for ADC are Jinx, Veigar, and Samira. Just a single support champion being changed in 13.6, as we have some follow-up nerfs to Yuumi. Q cooldown is changed from 7.5 scaling to 6.25 seconds to 6.5 seconds at all ranks. Q mana cost is up from 50 scaling to 75 to 50 scaling to 100. Q range and speed are both being reduced. The big one is that Yuumi's R will no longer provide resists. Yuumi had been projecting as an S tier pick had these nerfs not gone through, so with changes in mind, we'll be leaving her in A for 13.6. OP tier for support does not change from last patch, with Senna, Thresh, Annie, and Rakan being the most optimal carries. If you're looking for a new duo to play in 13.6, then Pyke with Veigar is a really nasty combination. Veigar throwing down his cage, followed by Pyke pulling the enemy into the stun with his hook, can lead to so many easy kills at level 6. Top 3 low elo picks for support include Brand, Heimerdinger, and Zyra. Rakan Thresh, and Annie are all really good ban options. Alright guys, before we wrap this up, let's tell you a little more about SkillCapped. So, we offer a 5-division rank up guarantee, and think that's a pretty crazy thing to offer. It's like a gym membership guaranteeing you'll get ripped. Your local gym would go bust if they offered that, right? Not us. We've offered this for years because our service really does work. It works so well, in fact, that we're able to produce by far the largest catalog of premium league guides on the internet. We add over 20 videos a week, with over 1,600 guides curated into over 100 courses no one can compare. We've also sent challenger players into ELO Hell 714 times and counting, where they commentate how to carry live. They also respond to all questions asked. Sign up today for as little as $6.99 a month if you are serious about improving. So there you have it guys, a complete look at the solo queue tier list heading into 13.6. Thanks so much for watching, good luck in solo queue, and we'll see you in the next one.